Hello. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Tien Kong, thanks for the resub. 47 months, buddy. Morning, brah. Eagle 11. D Merc. Hey, you got my name in your name. Sam Aman 12. Go Sam. Did you find it there, D Merc? I do have a course that's been released and it's available in our Chessable store. So let me know if you're able to find it. It's not an opening course. A lot of people have opening courses. I think it's a pretty unique course. Thank you, Mattis. Not available on VHS. Sorry, brah. Well, McNaster, let's be real. Ain't nothing worse than not being able to convert the final icing on the cake of your beautiful masterpiece game. And God forbid losing the well-played game. That's where my course comes in. Help you finish it off. DC Penguins, thanks for the 31 months. And Chris Herrera. Oh my goodness, he's almost there, guys. Chris Herrera, tier 3 for 68 months. The edging is unreal from this gentleman. We can't wait. Howdy, Freddy. And good evening to Buddy Shirts. Hey, Yannick. Good evening. We have some another day and another pool of results to go over from the World Cup as I sip my coffee and start the stream here. Good afternoon, Chicken Pants. Hello to Czech Manarov and Java Bandit. What's up, Quantity? What size should you get? It's a tough choice, you know. But I would say go big or go home. Epic CS. Go big or go home, buddy. Java Bandit. Course rocks. First two tidbits. Rook and queen. Magic squares. Queen takes 5. The king was. Thank you, Java Bandit. That's a glowing review. I try to, even when I do an opening course, like, you know, I've done a lot of series, Stonewall, King's Indian. I always try to make it a little bit systematic. Like, pieces always go to these squares, or always look for this pattern, or this is always a good thing. That's how you learn understanding. Not this piece has to go here when this piece is there. It's more of a general thing. Then you start to understand. That's how you learn. I'll look at it, Vegeta. I will. The results are in, by the way, guys. We officially have Magnus against Aryan in the next round. That's right. You can always try Matriarchal. Remember, the FIDE Online Arena awaits you. So Magnus and Aryan in the next round will be exciting. So next round will be in 2 days, because tomorrow there's still the tie breaks for round 2. Round 3 will start in 2 days. Pragnananda had a sick game yesterday and then just drew today and won very easily. So I always wondered, like, okay, it's the World Cup. You play 2 games. So this guy lost the first game. And then in the second game, this was the game that he played. Now, I understand. You're playing a 2700 player. You have the black pieces. But, like, shouldn't you be playing this? Shouldn't you be playing this if you want to play for a win? So he goes here, and the guys just trade all the pieces. And I'm just so confused because now the guy playing with the black pieces is knocked out. So what? I just don't understand. Why not try? Why not do something? I don't get it. It's the World Cup. You're gonna get knocked out. May as well just not even show up to play. I feel like a lot of people did that. Howdy, Will. I can definitely say howdy to a guy like you. Okay, what else happened? Nihal just crushed. You talking about yourself, McNaster? Go Jimmers. Let me know what you think of it, McNaster. I'm curious. Yeah, this was a nice finish in this game. By the way, attacking... This is a skill. So I'll say this position right here. Attacking this pawn structure seems... I don't know what your impression is, guys, when you look at this. Does this seem difficult or does this seem easy? Because from experience playing these positions, it is so difficult to attack this pawn structure. It looks like you just go like this. The white plays king f2, and it's like, man, everything's defended. The h-file, white can always challenge. This is like never possible. So I'm about to be impressed to find out how Niel did it. G4. And it's like he just sat there. He just sat there. And then the guy played G4 and he went E4. He just sent it. Oof. And by the way, I think Nihal could have qualified here with a draw, but the guy's a savage. The guy's a savage. He repeats because he's an absolute monster. Always repeat. Then he mated him on the board. On the actual chessboard. Between 2 GMs. God damn. Nasty. Sick and disgusting. But what if I told you... What if I told you that this wasn't even the nastiest game that there was as part of this round? What if I told you that? There were some other ones. I can turn the music down for you there, Monkey Knight. You want to make sure you hear my expert commentary here. It's really important, you know. I'm saying a lot of really important stuff here. Thank you very much. Yeah. Caruana won his match. Go Fabi. Mamedyarov, actually, I would say this is one of the bigger upsets that I've seen. So Mamedyarov lost his match. Let's see. Svidler won. Dubov won. Salem won. Checking on all the bras here. Wesley's game definitely deserves some attention. Wesley with the black pieces. I played this guy, Emre Khan, in, I think, the World Blitz. He beat me in a really nice game, actually. Really nice game. Stakinator AC. A shame there's no chief. That's what they all say. Sorry to disappoint you time and time again, Stakinator. You're stuck with an Aman Hambleton stream. Your life couldn't possibly get worse than this. And it's been this way for 37 months. Again, my deepest apologies. It'll change next month. Just keep resubbing. Ooh, Bishop C7. Okay. E4, high energy move. Once knight takes, eh? Wesley kind of getting outplayed here, low key. Ooh, Bishop D6 is kind of filthy. So, Rook D4, Bishop E6, and I don't know what the win is, but after Rook D7, you get this endgame, and you think that it should be winning? But how? How is it winning? It's crazy. So, of course, you can never leave the king here and allow g3 because you can't trade the pawns. In case anyone is wondering, all you would need to do to defend this position is basically put your king in the same color corner as your bishop and move your bishop along that diagonal forever. That's all you need to do to defend. It's pretty easy to accomplish. If you imagine these pawns weren't on the board, something like bishop b5, king here, bishop c6, take the diagonal, and then just put your king in the corner. And then you just literally move your bishop anywhere here, and it will be impossible to lose the game because your king's on a light square and there's only one diagonal to check you. But yeah, that's what I'm saying if the pawns are off the board. Of course, g3 can't be played because white will move the pawn up. But that's why white had to move the king, because g3 was going to force the pawns to be exchanged because it's a check. But you'll see here, there's just no way for the pawns to move. Right? There's no way to make any progress here, which is nuts. And after bishop f4, g3 was played. The bishop shouldn't go to f4, it should go somewhere else. But after bishop f4, I think the reason that this is so nasty is now the move h3 will just win this pawn. And once you take the pawn, it's a draw. So you can't do it now because it's with a check. So you'll see that he makes a king move. In terms of king moves that are sufficient, it's actually the only one, I think, because these king moves run into this. These aren't possible. This is still a check. and white would be able to go like that, and this is covered. King e6 also allows the same check. So king e8 is the only move. And now the bishop can never go here because of h3, so... An impressive draw by Wesley. And now he can go to tie breaks and maybe win the match. And white sack the bishop on g3. Well, of course you can sack the bishop on g3, but how are you going to win the game, Moneybird? You've got one pawn. If it's same color bishops and one extra pawn versus a king, let's say these things are off the board, then black just puts the king on f6, let's say. And how do you ever get the pawn forward? The bishop can't evict the king off that square. So it's just an immediate draw. Bishop e5. Well, it's not that you can't go bishop e5, El Fishy. It's what's your next idea? That's the question. You can have everything you want in this position. It's a pick'em for white. But the problem is, king h2 runs into that. King g2, basically a non-threat. And the king cannot escape to go around the pawns like that because the bishop is keeping it locked in. So it's just that you don't really have the next idea. That's how sick this draw is. Thanks to the resub, Steakinator. I knew what you meant. I was just poking fun at you, man. D. Burke, thanks for the 7-month resub. So this was a big save. Big save, Dave. Duda wins his match. MVL's in tie breaks. Shanklin loses his match. Naka has tie breaks. Nepo wins his match. Buddy Howell also in tie breaks. Syrian tie breaks. Abdusatorov lost, so he's out of the World Cup. Lots of upsets happening. Big Dominguez taking care of business. Saric lost, which is disheartening. Sucks for Buddy Ivan. He had a really tough endgame. Look how nasty this endgame is. It's just nasty. So white can force a trade of rooks because of the checkmate threat. Pretty gross. King f8, rook takes e6, and knight d7. So you force a trade of rooks, and this position is definitely losing. Knight d6, knight takes f7. There's a lot of ways to probably do this. The knight takes f7 is pretty clinical. Because you can go here, here, knight there, push the pawn, and then go win this guy. And it should all be forced. But this is pretty nasty. Feels bad for Saric. Yeah, the dark squares, I mean, you can't defend that position. It's impossible. Still so many matches to keep track of. I think this is right when the World Cup gets interesting. Because the first couple rounds, it's like, there's so many matches, I can barely keep track of them. Jordan won, so Buddy's also through. Tari drew today, so he's also through to the next round. He's playing Magnus. And speaking of Magnus, his game today was a thing of beauty. Just sit back and enjoy. Just sit back and enjoy. A 29 move win. So this is a line that I've played before as white. I like to set up my... Basically, black's playing a Benoni. I like to set up as white like this too. But when they play knight e7, it can be a little tricky because all of a sudden, if you keep playing like your regular opening, black's gonna go here and maybe turn it into a King's Indian, or play like even h6, g5, knight g6, f5. It could be a bit of a weird position. But Magnus just takes and goes bishop f4 and says, okay, like, show me what you got. And to be honest with you, I don't think I would play like this. This looks really scary for white. My instinct is not to do this. Queen a5 brings the queen back. Knight b4, and it's like, you know, there's some stuff happening here. Bishop h2, and it seems like the best black can do is this. And after bishop c4, I thought this move was sick, knight d5. If knight d5, queen c4, so black has to give up the bishop, it seems. It's pretty hard to make a move that doesn't do that. And even though you're up a pawn here, the pressure from not being able to castle is pretty nasty. Again, castles, rook takes e7. Black is not castling here. Knight e5, knight c6, rook d1, rook takes, queen takes f7. Okay, not the most complicated move. Forces knight d4. Getting out of some checks. And then this whole sequence, knight c6, knight e7, I'm like, trying to follow what's going on here. Knight f5, the guy's dancing everywhere. After this, I mean, I guess takes bishop e5, there's always f6, so you're still not breaking through. b4 looks like a nasty move, because once the pawn takes, then you have real winning threats. So b4 is like very close to cracking through here for white. But he plays queen to g6, and this sequence, bishop c7, rook d7 is just, it's just nasty. It's just nasty. You can only sit back and appreciate. Rook e8. King takes is forced, obviously. Queen e4 check. Queen takes, I know knight g7 is completely winning, but queen takes, queen a8 is going to be checkmate. So of course, black is going to go back with the knight. And then queen a8 happens, and well, you've got checkmate here. But now queen takes d8. Pure filth. And then everybody's working here. Just nasty. Totally sick mate. And after rook e8 check, another brilliancy, by the way. Black resigned. Disgusting. Hey KVX. Oh yeah, buddy. Here, I gotta open the League of Legends just to show you KVX. I'm gonna open it for you, bud. Here. I gotta show the proof. KVX was a big supporter of the late night one single game of League. And I gotta show you that we caught the dub. Here you go. Where is it? Profile? Here. There we go. So, we won the game, KVX. We died 10 times. I was against a brutal team. Warwick, Kha'Zix, Fizz, Vayne, and Poppy. It was tough for me. It was tough for me, bud. And then we won that game with 10 deaths. And then we lost the 10-3-16 ARAM game. So you know how it is. Anyway, we caught the dub for you, KVX. Had to do it after the support. Had to do it. That's what I'm saying. No, that was a good name. That was a good name. Feet Worshipper on the Warwick. The Weedwick. Did we get to all the games? Magnus's game is usually pretty close to the bottom here. This is from last round? Or what? Yeah, I think we're at the bottom here. Nice. So there we go. And so we have Magnus and Tari. Any confirmed matchups that look interesting? Svidler and Jordan. That looks like a fun one. If Grishuk wins the tiebreak, then Grishuk against Salem will be pretty exciting. Where can you find the course? Well, I think you just found it. Sampo. It's on the Chessbra store, available there. Nihal against Dayak. Gabby is playing... Ooh, that'll be a close match. This is also a big performance by Big Ivan. He's 2,500 FIDE, so he has currently 2 upsets in the World Cup. So he's a big story right now. Jules against maybe Wesley will be exciting. There we go. Naka against Benjamin or Norderbeck if he's able to win here. Tiebreaks are always pretty exciting though. I saw Wesley eke out a draw today, that's right. A lot of Americans in the same bracket, Tim. Gotta cut down on the amount of Americans in the tournament somehow. Nordertal, thanks for the year with Prime. Yeah, he's a good player, Fisher said. He definitely can overperform. I thought I would start today with some slow chess, but I think we're also we've got a new Chessel, right? Yes. This is how I practice my theory. Chessable walked, so Chessel could run. Expert mode, no problem. Let's go. Very specific guess. Completely wrong. So e6 was played. d4 was played not on move 2. And d5 was played not on move 2. Well, I tell you, it was probably this. d4, d5, c4, e6, c5 was played, eh? And e takes d5 was played. Okay, so knight c3, knight f6. What? Takes? Or knight f3, c5, takes. Let's go with that. Wow. They're really getting me here. Okay. Here, there's no c4 played. No c4 played, but there is e takes d5. So it has to be e4. But e4 is not played. Wait a minute. So it's knight takes d5. Okay, so knight f6 then? Wait a minute. This is like... It has to be like white plays the move d5. It could be white plays d5. Something like this? Knight f6. Oh, knight c3 is not here though. We have to change the move order. Knight f6. Knight c3. c5. d5. e6. I don't know if it means by either color. That's a good question, but I'm going to assume yes. e6. And then I need some other move. Knight f3. Takes. Who knows? e6. Does this make sense? Oh no, knight f3 is in the same spot. No, but knight f3 has to exist. Damn. What? This is hard now. But knight f3 has to happen. And it can't be there. It's got to be here. Maybe this? I don't know if that made sense. Wow. I'm a genius. Confident sip of coffee after dominating the Chessable. What a weird opening for this one. What the hell? I'm not sure what the evaluation is at the end here. Oh yeah, took people 4.6 tries, but you know me, yeah. Getting it done in 3. Yeah. Average day at the office. What's that? You mean what's that bad opening? It's a good question. This is just the, you know, like they have the Wordle. It's like the same thing, but for chess. Well, I think there was a lot of process of elimination to be done here, Tim. Because there was a capture, first of all, for white not to be playing e4 or c4, but there to be e takes d5, it was already a weird position. So it meant that white had to play d5. And then the knight c3 and knight f3 couldn't be in these two slots, so they had to be flipped. So there was a lot we could actually deduce there. Yeah. Inductive reasoning, brah. All right. Clearly, we've got the juices flowing. I think we're ready for some slow chess. I'm going to switch my account. I have a specific slow chess account. God bless Chess TV as well. Hello to Chess TV. God bless Chess TV. Okay, let's play this camel fat set. I like this one. All right. Here we go. Hello, Sleazy. I've been doing a slow chess. You could call it a speed run, but not much speed to it. 15-minute games, 10-second increment. And I will take opening suggestions. Obviously, I can't play everything that everyone's thinking, but hopefully we can make some people happy. I'm at 1400 right now. We started about 1,000 elo ago, so we've been grinding up. But the hope is that we play some of the openings that you guys might want to see and explain them in some detail, and maybe learn something. Yeah, we're already 1400. It does feel like it's gone a little fast. All right, so let me know what you'd like to see. I'm going to get into the first game here. First game of the day. We got the black pieces. Always, of course, depends on what the opponent does. Or if the opponent does. It depends mostly on if they do. And they don't. They do not. Not today. Easiest game of my life. Easiest game of my life. Only I got some real credit for it. Always wait it out. You never know when it's going to give you some rating instead of aborting. Alright. I'll get back in there. Okay. Wait, Wildman to YYZ. Wait, YYZ, that's Toronto. This guy's coming after me. Alright, E4. What are we thinking? Alright. Start with an E5. Start with an E5 and let's see where it takes us. Okay. Knight F3. Knight F6. The Petrov. An opening that I do not see very often below 2,700. Truly. Because most people who play it just end up playing it and blundering mate. Like, they'll lose their queen or they'll get mated or something. They'll, like, take this pawn and get queen e2. We've all seen it. It's bad luck. It's bad luck. Knight here, bishop c4. Huh. Maybe my opponent is gonna Knight g5 me? What do we think? I'm going to go knight c6. We're at 1350. Do they do that around here? No, they don't, I guess. Is it just me? Or do people not play this anymore? Are people scared to play the fried liver? I'll tell you, back when I was growing up, when I was learning chess, if you could play this move, you did play this move. It was mandatory, like en passant. You have to do it. But nowadays, people are like, I know the refutation, so I'm not going to play knight g5. People are too hoity-toity for that stuff. I'm sick of it. Back to the old days, when people used to play knight g5 like the headless chickens they were. d4. All right. d4, well, I think you guys have a feeling that kind of have to take. When someone hits you with this, you got to take something in the center. If you just let your opponent have the center for no apparent reason, you're going to get punished. So I think it's a capture angle. Let's see. Is he going to be coming with the theory here? Coming with the quickness? Canty. 52 big months. Thanks for the resub, Canty. Let's go, big fella. Knight takes d4. So, if I take on e4, is this a lose the game angle? Because I'll tell you something. I'm looking at it. Oh yeah, I'm looking. I'm looking and I might be liking. Knight takes e4. Because I'm used to d4 takes, maybe e5, or castles. But just knight takes back? You got me questioning things here. Knight takes e4, and let's say castles, I might hit you with d5. Hit him and split him in honor of Canty. Done. Not even calculating anymore. Not a second further. We're taking that immediately. That's enough reason in my life. Guided by the sweet resub of GM Canty. Okay. Takes. Now, if we take here, there's some hanging stuff. I know it's tempting to hit me with that. I'm not even sure if that would be the best move there. But B takes and d5 next really does look like the move, I have to say. So I'm a B takes kind of guy. No reason to forfeit our castling privileges, to allow bishop takes f7, some tricks. B takes, and then d5. d5 is the most important move we can play. It's going to block the bishop. It's going to support our knight, attack the bishop with tempo. It's B captures. We want to play d5. Castles, d5. Queen h5, d5. What's he cooking up? He's thinking about something. Queen e2, probably also d5. Although after queen e2, we could consider other moves as well. You like the slow chess. Why, thank you, bud. We need to. Makes sense. I mean, you gotta continue with the move like this, I think. So I'll tell you, these are pretty much the only two moves that I'm thinking of. I thought about bishop b4 for literally half a second until you notice c3, and then you don't spend any more time calculating it. And f5, you never really want to open this side of the board. And f5, all it does is defend the knight. d5 does that 10 times better. So yeah, these are the only two moves to consider. So start with the most forcing, d5. If my opponent reacts to d5 in a poor way and just goes bishop here, I think we just go bishop e7, and we're much better. We're up a pawn. There's no pin anymore. I think we're close to winning. So d5, if my opponent moves the bishop, it'll probably be bishop d3. Okay, bishop d3. If I don't break this pin and I go like bishop, I don't know, d6 or something. Bishop takes e4, takes. It's a check. c6 is hanging. I'm not sure we love it. And if we go here and we actually defend this with like bishop f5, then I do start to get concerned about f3 because it is in a pin. So I'm thinking d5, bishop d3, we might need queen e7 to defend the knight. But then we have a new problem. Let's say white castles. I can't develop this bishop. I would love for that bishop to already be on d6. That would be the dream. So how are we going to handle this this little issue we've got here? I still think that's the best line, because if I go queen e7 now, let's say white plays bishop d3, I'm going to have to play d5 anyway. I guess I could move the queen back at that, or the knight back at that point. But queen e7 castles. And the rook's about to show up on e1. I feel like I'm walking into the exact same idea. So I don't really see any advantage to queen e7. I don't. So d5 is looking like just get it out there. Get it out there. Queen e7. If I need to play it, I can play it next turn. What about f3? Well, the best white can do after f3 is win a piece, and I'm already threatening a piece. So, truthfully, I'm not overly concerned about that. I gotta be honest. All right, bishop d3. I think he made the most expected move. What would I like to do here? I'll tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to move this damn bishop and get castle. That's what I'd like to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that. That's a different story. f5, you guys better have some good answers for f3, because that's a whole situation brewing right there. That's a whole situation brewing. Needs some calculation, you know? f5, f3. At that point, I think we got to move our bishop, like bishop d6, maybe bishop c5. Maybe bishop c5. Takes. It's got to be pawn takes here. We got to be watching out for queen h5 check in that situation. g6, queen e5. Then the bishop has e2 to come back to. So here, bishop d6 covers e5. So then maybe takes can be played. And then if bishop takes, queen h4 check, and queen takes e4. Oh, is that the line you guys were talking about? That line, right? You guys calculated that one? Jeez, you guys calculate fast. You guys are crazy. f5, f3, bishop d6. Castles, castles? Take. And like, we're trying to say, hey, your bishop's trapped too, bud. Is that it? Is that the stuff? That looks like a frisky variation, I'll tell you that much. Otherwise, let's say cooler heads needed to prevail. Bishop e7, everybody takes, and just castling. Also not the worst. We're going to have double pawns. He gets his pawn back, but we have the two bishops there. It's an interesting position. Fact of the matter is, we entered this line because of GM Canty, so we're going to have to continue the energy with f5. I'm now committed. I'm pot committed, unfortunately. f5. We're in there like swimwear. Now, if you don't play f3, I might just break the pin and, you know, f3 is not going to be the same on the next turn. All right, here it is. Here it is. That damn move I didn't want to see. All right. So we might have to play this and just enjoy, you know, a fun position down a piece. I think it's bishop d6, guys. I gotta continue with the same energy. Bishop d6. Right? Even if knight c3, just castle. Right? It's like, go ahead, do your worst, take me. And bishop c5, I've never been a fan of just yet because of queen h5. So I want to make sure to do this to cover the e5 square. And, you know, this is also nice for queen h4. Kind of has some ideas like bishop takes on g3. Let's take this way. Are we taking this way? Take this way, queen h4 check. Queen h4 check, queen f2. Here, bishop c4. All right, we're in there. We're in there, baby. Gave just a half-second thought to queen h4, but it wasn't right. Not yet. Not yet. This guy's got to go easy on me here. All right. Castles. Not my favorite move because it's a little bit less fun. But after queen e7, technically speaking, I think I'm getting my piece back. So it depends. Depends what you think of that. I don't like getting the piece back. That just that doesn't feel rewarding. Queen h4, g3. You can never sack the piece there because I'm down so many things already. I can't just keep sacking more. So queen h4, g3. The only question is queen h4, g3, queen e7. Am I happy having g3 in the position? And honestly, I'm not sure that I want g3. It's a pretty close call. It's a pretty close call. Well, I think we're committed now, guys. Let's go queen h4. I'm in there. I am in there. Queen h4. Okay, yeah. I know, you see the threat. It ain't that impressive. He's got one move. I have a feeling it doesn't take 2,500 to find this one. But I'm hoping that creates a little bit of a weakness in the position. How do I get in dynamic positions like this? What do you mean? how do I get in dynamic positions? I'm down a piece and I'm worse. That's how you get in dynamic positions. But thank you for calling it dynamic. That's a very nice thing to say. If you were 1,000 and in the same position, you would be calling this position lost. Is it just privilege that I get to call it dynamic? Thank you for that. It's particularly, it's kind of enthusing me that he's taking so long to move, because it's making me think that he might not play the obvious move. It's like it's so obvious that he thinks it's bad. He's like, wait a minute. What the hell you want me to play that obvious move for? Now I'm suspicious of you. That's good. That's what we want. GM privilege. Tim, I tell you, I grinded 2 decades of my life, worked tirelessly, stayed up long nights, dedicated my whole life and career to chess to earn the GM title, just so that when I blunder a piece, I can call it dynamic. And god damn it if you're going to take that away from me in this moment right here. Hell no. I've earned that right. We all know H3 is getting played. Well, there's only one way to confirm that. Okay, only the 1300s in chat answer. What would you guys play here as white? Flip the board to help you out. Only the 1300s answer. Well, there's that pesky G3 move. Damn it. All right. As I said, it's too much to take this pawn. It looks interesting, but I think it's truly too much. So, if we return to e7, you know, the bishop is lacking squares, but it does have one that's surprisingly playable. And you know what I find the most annoying is any kind of move like this, there's actually queen h5 check. Not so simple. So we're probably going to have to just develop our bishop to d7, for example, after this, because we don't really want to take. Like, I'm not interested in trading, right? So that's my thing about queen e7. Queen h3 feels like it keeps, you know, the energy high on the king side. So I can definitely see the logic there. Maybe an idea like bishop g4 coming next. So these are my 2 candidate moves. And to be honest, this looks a little more menacing. Queen e7, bishop a6. I'm not actually sure that I like it, to be quite honest with you. So I think we're going to make the move that maintains a little bit of energy in the position, right? We're going to go here. Double check. Here. Make sure. Hang on. What happens here? Oh, oh, oh. We might need answers here. Wait, bishop e4. Triple check. I mean, this bishop move is going to hit like a truck, right? Bishop e6, queen takes, king e7, bishop g5. Actually checkmate, just so you guys know. Actually checkmate. So, queen takes e4. I think that is an actual threat of queen takes c6. I think it's an actual threat. King d7, rook here. It's an actual threat. Forced. Forced. I can't have bishop e4 in the position. There's no way. I can't live with myself allowing bishop e4 like that. Now, let's be honest. If I played queen here, there's probably a very high chance that, I don't know, he plays knight c3 or something. And then the energy stays at an all-time high with bishop g4. But we're not here to gamble on the chess moves. We have to play best possible move. So I need to play queen e7. Sadly. Yeah, the problem with bishop takes bishop g4 is, I mean, among many other things, bishop f3 is possible. And that would be a check, by the way. That would be a check. Thanks, Toy519. 25 months with Prime. Now, I think this is like a full send H-pawn game, because what else are we going to do? Right? We have a nice position, but there's one thing which would make it a lot better. Number one, a little development. And this looks tempting, but as I mentioned before, there's going to be that nasty check. And the other thing that would be nice is if we were castled, but that's never happening, so we can go ahead and give up on that plan. Castling is a no-go. And we're down a piece? No. We sacked a piece. If we lose the game, we blundered the piece. But so far, it's only a sacrifice. Only a sacrifice. That's right, dynamic position. What's he gonna do here? I really enjoy the way my opponent's playing. I give him a lot of credit. Thoughtful about his moves, even obvious ones. I think he's playing a complete game so far. Will we see it? Once again, another question for the 1300s. What would you play here? Clearly your bishop's attacked. No? Are we really seeing this move? Is that the vibe? Are we all playing bishop a6 as a 1300? Is that truly the answer? Hello to MapRail. Thanks for the 53 months. Tier 3. I wish we could play something like this. But that queen h5 move is a killer. Now, he spent a long time and still played g3, so I have full faith in my opponent here. It's really hard to predict a different move than this. I'm trying to imagine. Queen there just has a cutthroat reply. Maybe he just thinks it's trapped and just like makes a regular move. I don't know. It's hard to find another move. Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, he's got such a good position that there's a clear move to play here. Now, the reason this is so annoying is if I play here, I've talked about this queen check. If I play even here, that bishop will go to that square and really annoy my pieces, right? So after this, in order to keep the bishop on the board, I actually have to play this. Because it's the only one that deals with that move. He's hitting to think real hard here. Isn't rook e1 viable? Or queen d2, queen f2? The thing is, like, am I not just winning winning this piece? What's your idea? Let's hear the variation. Because you might be onto something, but I don't know if I believe you yet. Pawn takes bishop. What's your variation? Ah, queen h5. There's the thinker. Rook takes e7. Yeah, that's a good line for sure. Takes, queen takes, and bishop g5. That's another good one. But probably the worst news for you is that after this, I'm just going to castle. Seems like black's worse. Down a piece, king exposed, and so forth. Now, don't be talking about my position like that. If I lose the game, that's probably all true. But if we win, this will go down as a GM Canty inspired sacrifice. Chat approved. One for the books. Now, is he really still thinking? Because he's about to have less time than me. Uh-oh. He's got less time than me. But here's the moment where he really has less time than me. Right now. Because now even with the increment, he got less time than me. I think he's calculating all the way to the end. He's calculating everything now so that he doesn't have to calculate ever again. He'll be making every move from now on instantly. Oh, he just got the time warning. Surely we get a move now. Time warning. Not even the time warning? My goodness. This guy's an animal. He didn't even flinch when he got the time warning. He must not be at the computer. Because I'll tell you, I've set my my personal alarm. Anyone else? Personal alarm? Chess.com time warning sound? Straight out of bed in the morning. When I hear that Mexican mariachi band start playing, I am up and at 'em. Fantastic sacrifice. Working to perfection is all I see here. Great win, never in doubt. Huge knockout. A massive, massive dub there. What was the evaluation? What do you mean, what was the evaluation? What are you talking about? A magician never reveals his secrets. Why would I tell you guys the evaluation when you obviously know that black was better here? And this is why the opponent clearly got scared, got cold feet, couldn't locate a move, and fumbled under time pressure. There was nothing to play here. So there's no point in looking at the evaluation when it's clear that this position was better for black. Oh, wrong screen. Sorry. It's clear this position was better for black. So yeah, I think that's why he gave up there. Just a good, clean game. As far as I can see. Chalk that one up to pure skill. This is known as one of the refutations to this line. Knight takes e4. Yeah, we're just going to snatch that right up. Take that. Boom. Black's got a comfortable edge. d5, no problem. Bishop d3. Nice to meet ya. Bishop e7. No, there might have been queen e7 here. It might have existed, but I'll tell you one thing. f5, a move for the people. And after this, I think it was only good things to happen. Only good things to happen. All right, well, better jump into the next game before we analyze this too deeply and give it all away. 1-0 on the day. GG. What happened to music? The set ended, so we're starting a new one. We're starting a new one. I will continue to take opening recommendations and suggestions. But as you may imagine, after our experience with that completely winning position last game, I might have to avoid taking some of the suggestions from the chat because the positions we're getting are just so winning that there could be some fair play accusations launched by chess.com because of my collaboration with the chat. So obviously, I'm going to have to take some of the suggestions, a bit more sparsely. Not sure I'm going to be able to copy everything. 15 minutes, 10-second increment. We're going to go for another one. Our RL, thanks for the 8 months. Rocket League gang. All right, let me know what you'd like to see. Black pieces again. E4. We got another E4 game. All right. What's the most common answer here? What are we seeing? What are we seeing? I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna start with C5. I haven't decided. Still up for grabs. There's a lot of Sicilians, honestly, and he played knight F3. So he's going main line, which already is reasonably rare. You wouldn't believe how many people just play bishop c4 here. Truly. F5 now. You see, this is the type of move that chess.com might get suspicious about. I'm going to have to veto that one. All right. Knight c6, knight f6. We're going to play some standard moves here. I'm assuming d4, but no. The knight c3 angle. Now, hang on a sec. He can still play d4 here. So we're not fully out of an open Sicilian yet. He could still play d4. Yeah, e5 is definitely a move. I'm more interested in e6 because I'm having this feeling he might be a bishop c4 kind of guy. Let's play e6. Now, he could just play d4. That's fine. We'll just transpose. But e6, I'm wondering where this bishop goes. It could go to b5. This is another relatively standard move. But I think it's got to be, either he opens the position, plays a regular game, or a3. What does that tell us about him? He's definitely looking to play bishop c4 and tuck that thing on a2. Almost for sure now. d5 tempting, but, it allows bishop b5, which I'm not a big fan of. So I think I'm going to hit the a6 button. If bishop goes here, then we'll be able to play b5. d4, so he's opened up the center. Takes. Always take in the Sicilian. Knight takes back, and now I think we're just playing pretty much the main line, one of the main lines of the Taimanov. Queen c7, baby. And this brings us to a whole other discussion. A3 is actually one of the main lines, but I would say it's kind of an advanced line. I'll be interested to find out whether he knows it or not. I'm taking with the queen. I want my bishop here. Isn't it the Khan? No. Main distinction between the Khan and the Taimanov is the Taimanov has a knight on c6 and the Khan has a knight on d7. So d6, knight d7, and the same structure would be the Khan. Queen c7, knight c6 is more of this Taimanov. Okay, b5. He wants to go here and put the bishop there. That's fine. I'll be right here waiting for you, bud. b5, bishop b7. Who's actually threatening who here? Okay, he's castled. Looks like a reasonable position. Our knight can develop to f6. That doesn't mean that it should, but I'm just saying, it can. Knight f6, e5 would be the end of the game. f5 looks tempting, but remember, guys, f5's not making a threat. Taking here is suicide. That's crazy. So f5 I don't really like. White's going to go rook e1, and f5 is one of these moves where you hope that they take you, but you're actually not ready to take them, ever. So to be avoided. Bishop takes a3, also complete nonsense. Rook takes, I mean, b4, rook b3, takes. Your dark squares are going to be crying. This opening is light square pawns, which means your MVP piece is the bishop on f8. You can't really give it away for a knight, which is essentially what this move does. Crazy. Can't do. So I think I have a couple moves here. Knight f6, bishop c5, or h5, h4. Those are the moves I'm thinking of. Rook c8's another classic Taimanov move. But I think I'm between these. Between these moves right now. One, two, three, four. h5 seems a little early, if I'm honest. I'm kind of curious where he's going to go, so I'm going to wait with rook c8. I do think these squares make sense, but I'm just going to make a good-looking move, standard move, pass the ball to him and say, all right, you go. You go. Rook e1 would be a nice move. Bishop e3. Bishop f4. Definitely not a bad move, but I would say I'm reasonably happy to see it. Bishop f4. So if bishop out, maybe queen g4 is a small issue. Not sure about that. Yeah, knight f6. Looks like a very solid move here. I like knight f6. Knight e7 becomes increasingly tempting just because knight g6 exists. So I have to be honest, knight e7, knight g6, just because it gains time here, does look pretty good. But knight e7, bishop d6, knight g6, bishop takes f8. I don't know if that's terribly impressive anymore. So if I want to do this, I think I have to move this bishop first. But bishop there, queen g4 is what I wasn't really liking. So I think I will continue like this. That is still working in our favor. Don't tell me the whole chat's blundering e5 and checkmate. No. You guys can't be making that mistake. I want to have you guys as my opponents. Can you sub in for this guy? My life would be a lot easier if I was playing you. I want him to play e5. h5, knight g4 is also an option, as well as, of course, h5, h4. Bishop c5 potentially next. f3 is a way to make e5 work, but once you play f3, I mean, your pieces are not happy with you there. So f3 would be a very welcome sight from my perspective. If white plays a4, then I'll play b4. But I'm not looking to play b4 before then. That's not of interest to me. I'd like to leave my pawns like this if I can, but maybe bishop e7, d6 is how I develop here. I think white's queen belongs on one of these two squares, that's for sure. d2. I don't know. It allows this knight to kind of jump around, but it's synchronizes better with the bishop. Queen e2. Okay, and we see the bishop move again, which I would say is a little bit wrong. Yeah, something feels off about that move. By the way, even bishop takes knight is not not a really like bothersome move here, taking with the g pawn. But that being said, bishop e7 is a basic developing move here that I think we can play because it defends the knight. Why not? But just so we're clear, this is not the end of the world for me. Not at all. So yeah, I think bishop e7 is good. Gets developed, gets me maybe ready to castle, guards the knight. Maybe d6 is the next move. And if you play this and don't take the knight, I'm really wondering what you're up to there. So let's see. And if his plan is just develop, go here, and take, I mean, what kind of journey, what kind of life is that for this bishop? Right? You just like spawn, go to f4, go to e5, and then die. It's like this is the POV of the sperm cells that don't make it. Just bishop f4, bishop e5, bishop takes f6, and no one remembers your name. Tough life. I'm playing d6 next. I'm castling. And you still can't play e5. We need to. I'm thinking d6 here because I actually want to encourage the move bishop takes f6. I mean, this is like dream for me. Again, there's no e5. Remember that. All right, dream come true. It would actually be very tempting here. It'd be great news for us. But if knight d5, of course we won't take it. We'll just grab this pawn or bring the bishop back. The knight on d5 once we castle is just going to have to move again. So it looks fancy, but doesn't actually do much. Now, rook to c1. At this point, guys, it is way too strong to take this knight. I simply cannot say no. I have to take it. Right? If I don't take it now, the knight's going to move. Guard this pawn. White will play c3. Although we'll be happy, it doesn't compare to these weak pawns and potentially just a free pawn. So we're definitely going to take. However, once we get to this position, I may pause here and just evaluate whether or not I want to take right away. It could be that castling is the better move, so I'll at least have a look. Queen takes c3 looks damn good though. It really does. I think if I castle, white plays rook d1, and then if I take, rook takes here. Although we take another pawn, white also gets a pawn on d6. Whereas if we take right away, rook d1, then I can just take another pawn. Right? Because then you can't touch my my d pawn there. So I do think taking right away is the move, especially because I can castle in one move. I can do it anytime I want. So that's reassuring. Knowing that at any moment I can castle. If a4, I'll probably just take it. Oh. You can't be offering such nice things to me. A queen trade? You shouldn't have. Really, you're too kind. So, queen takes d3 is obviously going to be a decent move. Because if he takes, well, I'm up a pawn. So, that's definitely a positive sign for my position. But and what I'm about to tell you is the truth. You know it's the truth. Because it's a big but. And they don't lie. But if he takes me, that is much more beneficial than if I take him. Like, his pawns are in disarray here. So, if I could get him to take me, I'd be a lot happier than if I took him. Now, I don't know if I can force that. Because if I castle, queen takes d6, right? Perhaps a little uncomfortable. But I am potentially interested in the move king e7. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it. The only issue with king e7 would be if he somehow like got his queen to g5. But I don't see how he can do that. Like, the best he could do is take me. He could play rook d1 after king e7, and then I'll play rook d8. Seems like we always have the answer. King e7, e5. Always have to double check stuff like this. Right? Because if queen takes here. So e5, then I think we take here. And then, even if we take, we get to an endgame where his two pawns are like that. So, I do like myself a little king e7 foray. And, oh, if he takes this, it's done. It's done. It's too much. And remember, if things go bad, after rook d8, we could just castle ourselves anyway with king f8 and, you know, that will be there later for us. So we don't have to worry too much. You have to remember, we're about to be in an endgame here. In an endgame, we absolutely want the king in the center. Much different than being over there. Again, queen takes looks like a tremendous move, but rook d8 is very much in line with what we've been talking about. Bending that pawn. Now, e5 has still been on my mind, always, as a dangerous move for my opponent. But I think I can play queen takes queen, and we should be okay in all those variations. If he wants to keep the queen on the board, he's got to do one of these two moves. Okay, you know, he's going to be giving up maybe the A pawn there. Could get messy. And e5 would be a welcomed sight. So what is he going to do? Tough choice, honestly. Yeah, if e5, I think it's important we play queen takes. So e5 is going to open up a world of calculation here, but we're ready for this move. We're ready for it because I mentioned it already a few moves back. So if this move is not something that I had looked at previously, this would be quite a shock, actually, because it is a very tricky move. If bishop takes here, all of a sudden pawn takes, and I can't take back because the queen's defending, and he can always take back right away. If I push the pawn, queen takes h7, and who knows what's happening there. That's pretty scary. And our bishop is hanging, so if we take the pawn, he'll trade the queens and win a bishop. Taking here runs into that. But the important thing is that we can get rid of this queen, first of all. So that's the first step. Now, pawn takes here is not going to be as much of a problem. If he takes here, I think the game will basically end because we have queen takes. So we must take it back. Okay, let's make sure we get the order of the moves right here. If pawn takes pawn, bishop takes here can technically be played because even though rook takes would win a rook, he can take the c8 rook. But okay, here, takes, and bishop takes. That's more obvious. I'm down a piece, so we can't do that. Yes, d5 is possible, but if we take the bishop, takes, rook takes, takes, king takes, rook c3. He's losing another pawn there. His rook's stuck defending. So we can play d5. Totally fine. But I see us entering a very favorable endgame here. Very favorable. Which is why I'm going to take this. If he takes it back, no problem. Right? Now I'm just up even another pawn. And after he takes, I'm probably going to take with the king. Looks silly, but I want to leave this rook pressuring the c-pawn. We have the dream. After we won material, we got to trade off pieces, win more material, and trade off queens, the most important thing. This is fantastic. Okay. Rook e3. So we need to defend this. f6 possible, but I don't think I'm gonna locate anything better than rook d5 for the moment. This move guards the pawn. If he commits both rooks to it, then I might just take this and say, okay, you have that, I'll have this. Additionally, it also helps me potentially double the rooks. So I'm happy with that as well. c3. I think it's time to bring the rook in. There's one concept here which is kind of important. It might not matter as much because I can always play f6, but if you're doubling your rooks and you really want to put pressure on this pawn, then you don't want to have your leading rook also being the one that's performing a defensive task. Meaning, if I go here, if at any point I win this pawn, I will lose that pawn, guaranteed. But if I go rook c4 and double like that, then there are a lot of instances where I could win this pawn without losing the e-pawn. So it'll put more pressure on my opponent if the rook behind the two rooks is the one actually performing a defensive task. If I go rook here, the rook's kind of overloaded. Like, I can't do both at the same time. But if it's behind, then I actually can. And rook c4 does a lot of other good things as well. Like, I want to play rook a4. Nice to control this 4th rank to maybe stop some of these pawns advancing. And it fixes that weakness on c3. It can't move at all. Neither can this pawn. So rook here will actually force the rook to go to a1. At some point, a5 and b4 will be good, but I don't want to play a5 just yet until I'm ready, because then all of a sudden my b pawn becomes a target. And right now the only target's a6, and that can't be attacked. So I'm good. Let's gain some more space. If white was a GM, do I think this is holdable? Yeah, I think so. I think if white was a GM, he would do a pretty good job holding this L. Nitsid Prime. Of course, this is not defensible. Down 2 pawns? Hell no. You could let an engine play this. You could let an engine play this, and there's no shot. No shot. Okay, rook here. Well, you may have noticed there is a little bit of a threat happening here. Just a little bit of a threat. e4, king e2. Forced, by the way, because king here, king f6, you're basically going to lose the game. There will be a checkmate coming your way, or heavy loss of material. After e4, king e2, I would probably just continue my attack of these pawns. But another way for me to play is to bring my king up, like king f6, just to guard this pawn, and then switch the rook here like that. So both of those moves will be incredibly winning. I don't think that I really prefer one over the other. Both look pretty good. So let's just pick one and move on. e4. King e2 kind of goes right in the middle of these rooks, which is not great coordination. King g2, though, just doesn't make sense. You're going away from the action. And king f4, it looks like you're helping. Like, you know, you're right up there with all the big boys here, but your king there will be subject to a mating net. And the only way out of it that I can see is to play g4, but then g5, king g3, f4, will lose a rook. That should be pretty painful. So we're waiting for the king move, but it probably won't really affect my next couple of ideas. I'm probably going to go king here no matter what, so that in the event that this pawn gets removed, for example f3, that the other pawn can then move up to e5 where it's going to be defended. So the reason that my position is so strong is, well, the 2 pawns help, I'm not going to lie. But think about the counterplay that white has. White has 2 rooks. They're not able to operate on any sort of dangerous open file at all yet. The only 2 files that are truly open, my rooks are occupying. And the one that the rooks are on, which is the only other semi-open file, I've got 2 pawns in the way, supported very nicely. He can't pawn break anywhere. So there's not really any file where the rooks can do any damage on. And that's why black's position is just overwhelmingly good. It's one thing to be up 2 pawns, great. But there's just no counterplay for white. There's absolutely nothing to do. And anytime white wants to challenge one of the open files, I'm happy to trade rooks, because that'll just get me closer to a win. Alright, king g2. He did go away from the action. I would say that f3 is kind of, I wouldn't say it's a threat, but it's an idea of his next. Well, rook d3 is tempting just because it pretty much forces a trade, and I was just saying how strong it would be to trade pieces, trade rooks. It'll just get me closer to the finish line. So I think I'm just gonna go for rook d3. I think it's the simplest. King f6, good move. e5, good move. Rook c5, good move. Rook d2, good move. Rook a4, good move. Don't think that if this wasn't your move that you're blundering. But to me, it's the simplest, because it just gets me closer and closer to what I want, which is trading the most amount of pieces so that the only thing left are maybe my 2 extra pawns. That'll always be winning. All right, here we go. So, rook c1, and now I think I'm in a kind of comfortable position, because there's not much that my opponent can do in the way of counterplay. So, taking looks like a phenomenal option. Takes, the rook is tied down here. I'm going to start by removing the rook. My rook has this beautiful ability to just shuffle between the pawns now, right? And his rook would just have to chase me. Like, it's a it's a really nasty defensive position for him. But you'll notice that this rook can only move to 2 squares. If I play a5 and he goes here, I'm taking every single one of these pawns. If I go a5 and he doesn't go there, I'm playing b4, and because it's pinned, I'm winning yet another pawn. And remember, even though it looks like things are kind of locked up over here, this is a 5-on-3. I'm very much ahead over there. There's b4. Using the pin. And I will make a recommendation here. Well, I would say that pawn takes with a rook behind the pawn is just clearly winning. Rook takes in this particular position happens to be pretty dominant, because the king can't really do anything, and I have rook c2 check. But I'm going to take with the pawn in an effort to prove a point. I think this is a very effective way to win. So you take, and honestly, when I see this move, and this would apply to a lot of positions, push the pawn as far as you possibly can. And I mean, even here, I know it looks like a weird technique. Like, I took with the pawn instead of the rook. Why would I do that? And then I'm pushing the pawn. But I'm doing this so that if he takes, I'm happy to take. I got 5-on-3. This is a very easy king and pawn endgame. And if he goes king up, now I've got him in a position where it's like, okay, go ahead and take me, right? I'm waiting for this. And if you ever move your rook, maybe to try to get counterplay, I'm going to queen my pawn. I'm going to force you to take me. I'm going to force you to trade rooks. So it's literally impossible for white to avoid a rook trade here, unless he just shuffles his king the rest of the game. So here we go. He has to trade the rooks. It's the only, and I got 5 pawns here. You've got 3. First, we'll try to improve the king as much as we can. And then we'll slowly start to advance these pawns. I got too many pawns here. Okay, well, he's moving the king backwards, which already means I think he's giving up a little bit too much here. He could have tried to keep his king like that, but we would have just broken through. If h4, I wouldn't play h6 and allow h5, then my pawns can't move. But h4, I would play g6, and then h6, and then g5, and then f4. Advance the pawns slowly. No rush. Don't want to get into a position like this where white plays h5 and it's like, wait a minute, I can't move my pawn. But it's one of my favorite techniques when you've got a rook and a pawn and your rook's behind the pawn. If you're already up more material on the other side of the board, push the pawn as far as it will go. Even if the king is coming over to maybe take your pawn, you want to trade rooks with your opponent. So just shove that thing down the board. It's impossible to deal with, really. I've noticed a theme. And this has been, over my experience playing in the rapid time control on chess.com. I'm at 1400 here, and something that is in common with 95% of players is that people spend the most time on their moves when they're lost. Nobody spends time thinking when there's stuff to actually think about. People spend the most times on their moves when the game is over. And just to demonstrate, this is what I would have done against h4. I would have played g6. The way I feel when I see, and of course I'm a little bit tongue-in-cheek here because I like to see people using time no matter what. But when people are making, instant flash moves the entire game, but then they're down a queen and all of a sudden they start thinking, it's the equivalent of like being down 6-0 in a soccer match and then, the ref going for like 5 substitutions and calling a timeout and drawing up a play. It's like, okay, relax, man. What are we doing here? What's really happening? King here. I'm gonna chase you down here. I'm outflanking. Can't call a timeout in soccer? Actually, you can. That just shows how little you guys know about the sport. Have you ever heard of Italians? Yeah. Let's just say they know how to call a timeout when the team needs one. Let's go here. I'm going to take this pawn. Unfortunately, you're just being chased one square at a time into your own private corner. I'll go ahead and yoink this from you. I think it belonged to me anyway. Now this looks like a nasty attempt to ruin my pawn structure, and I will not have it. I will not have it. Nope. My wall of pawns is going to remain intact. Mark my words. No, it has to be resignation. I'm going for the other one too, bud. Don't think I won't. Don't think I won't. This is a rapid game. I get 10 seconds per move. We could be here all day. Oh, these guys are about to say hello. Uh-oh. I think this is a constellation, right? I think I've seen this one before. It's a well-known constellation. GG. Gotta take your KOs. Always. We got a nice Sicilian game here. I quite enjoyed this game. I thought there were learning opportunities at many points. We got to see a pretty standard mainline opening. We got to see my opponent, come up with his own plan at 1200. It wasn't a great one, but it was his own plan. He didn't really blunder anything major except pawns, right? He didn't make any serious mistakes. Like, this was a blunder. Maybe a mistake is a better word. But he didn't really blunder, like, big time. He tried to come up with e5. And we chose the right move order here. But he didn't play a bad game for 1200. And then he just got ground down in a rook endgame. But he really didn't make a ton of mistakes. It's just, we got to see all phases of the game. The opening, the middle game, and then the end game. And then we went stargazing at the end. GG. GG. Oh, it is MapRail from downtown. 5,000 bits from MapRail, who also resubbed earlier today. Thanks a lot, MapRail. I'm going to catch up with the chat here. We got some resubs to call out. I was so proud of my game there. I was just getting involved. 53-month tier 3 resub from MapRail earlier today. And then the 5,000 bits supporting that great game right there. Loved that one. Thanks to Roko for 3 years with us. 3 years on the dot from Roko. Brody 11, a year with Prime. We got some new sub badges for Roko and Brody. DJ DGen, 26 months with Prime. Thunder Sam, 300 bits. Doc 8ball, tier 3 for 27 months. Thanks to Doc 8ball. Davy Jones, 7 months with Prime. Perfect Micro SK, a year with us. On the dot. Thanks, Perfect Micro, for the resub. Irish Frank, 31 months with Prime. The best kind of Frank is Irish. Fine for King, Prime for 4 months. Hand Valen, a brand new Prime sub. Same with Cade. Thanks, KDod1234. Panda's Twitch Live, thanks for the 3-month resub. And one of our biggest supporters, Latinum Blonde, with the quick Cinco. 5 gifted subs from Latinum. Thank you very much, Latinum. Map Rail, appreciate you, gentlemen. A dynamic quick Cinco. That's right, we played a dynamic game earlier. This one was less dynamic. But the last one was good. Hey, Poker Chess. I'm talking about resubs. Why everyone's hitting like a perfect resub? A new sub badge for Poker Chess as well. 4 years. Thanks a lot, Poker Chess. And God bless the good people of Chess TV here and the chat. Next game, absolutely. I'm going to refill my drink. Maybe it's time for you guys to get a coffee. I'm going to be back in just a few minutes. But we're going to go for another game here with the good energy provided by the chat and the people in it. So I'm not going anywhere. Airbus Driver 321. Thank you very much, Airbus. Look at that. We've been talking about resubs. Airbus Driver, Tier 3, 35 months. He's inching closer to the 3-year mark. Time for a drink. Time for a refill. Time for a bathroom break. I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Let's keep going with some more slow chess. Hope you're enjoying. I think that was a good game. I think there was some stuff to learn from in there, especially if you like the Sicilian and maybe the Taimanov in particular. I'll be back in a few minutes and we'll get another one. You can already start to think about what opening you'd like to see. Back in a sec.
Hello to Airbus driver.
Hello. What's
Oh,
that?
hey. Oh, just saying hi.
Hello
There's a
to
kick and a
Lethbridge
Twitch
Chess.
stream today.
Which one?
Kick and Twitch. Airbus
Oh,
driver
we're going
will be
B2B.
Going to B2B.
B2B.
Mattis, I processed your rewards last night.
Is Mattis
I
a
don't.
super elite member?
Not yet. He's missing one to reach silver tier.
I can think of one that I can think of one that's perfect for Mattis. Yep, Mattis. I think maybe the checkmate course might be right for you, Mattis. Could see that being useful for you. I mean, you're following the World Cup, following Aryan's chess. I think it would be a great fit.
Hey, Lolly.
Good to see Lethbridge Chess in the chat. Hello to Jeff.
McNaster, thanks for being the most recent customer of Amon's checkmate course.
That's right.
Now,
I
you've only
appreciate
had a
that,
few
Mick.
minutes, but I assume it's the best thing you've ever seen. Thank you to McNaster.
Who's Nightbot? He's a friend of the channel.
Yeah, that's the only one available.
Mm-hmm.
This one.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get the video.
Hello to Sam. This is what I'm referring to. We're gonna do another slow chess game, but in case you guys, especially you guys on Chess TV, don't know, I did just release a course. I would say it's unlike most of the courses out there because it's not an opening course. It's a checkmate course. Sounds basic, but we're breaking down a lot of simple concepts. They seem simple, but I think we're turning them in this course into patterns, things you can memorize really easily, ways that your games might end. This is catered more to the online player. Still will be really helpful for your over-the-board games, but more to the online player, being efficient with your checkmates. And you might think it's like, oh, this is just a guy telling me how to checkmate with a queen and a king. Tell me how to checkmate with 2 rooks. Of course, I've included all those, and I've included the way that I would do it, most efficient way possible. But I've also included other things, like how to pre-move all the checkmates, how to do it when you only have 2 seconds. I've included examples from my own games and my own streams where I've used these exact techniques myself, so it shows you how to do it in action. And I've broken down a lot of other checkmates that you might not even think about. King and pawns, how to advance up the board very quickly. So it's definitely a very practical course. And it's pretty in-depth. There's 12 chapters, and there's annotated PGNs with everything. So it's probably more in-depth, and I think you'll probably get a lot more out of it than you think you will. And as I like to say, this is the one type of course that won't ever be refuted. It's not like, a London system course where later someone might be like, oh yeah, the new engines are saying that actually that move on move 6 in Aman's course, yeah, it's not good anymore. We actually refuted it now. Nope. This is irrefutable. This is irrefutable. Bryn says, why would I buy that? Literally on Chess, they are free and unlimited. Well, Bryn, that's the point. When you have two products and one of them is free, one of them you pay for, there's obviously going to be more in the one that you pay for. You think that everything I'm presenting in here is just completely available for free on Chess? Of course not. I mean, I would be proud of myself for selling a course that was full of stuff that was completely available online. Oh my god. I wish I thought of that. That would be genius. But I didn't think of that. I'm not smart enough. So instead, I spent a lot of time and effort recording all these videos and annotating all these PGNs, and I made this whole course, and I think it's worth it. So, oh well, that's my own fault. That's my own fault. Let's play another slow chess game. This is available in the Chessbra store right now. !course, or you can visit the Chessbra store. !merch will also take you there. It's the same place that you buy the Chessbra merch here. We have lots of merch on sale right now that you can buy, and then you see the fundamental checkmate course there as well. I'd be curious to hear if anyone in the chat has maybe gone through it and what they think of it. Honestly, of course. But I would be very surprised, and of course I haven't heard it from anyone, that they already knew everything that was in the course. It's just not true. As I've said, even up to about 2400 chess.com Blitz, I would expect you to be able to learn something from this. All right, let's jump into another game. Le Tacler, thank you for the brand new sub. Do I know the knight and bishop mate? Not only do I know it, my friend, I had the privilege of being able to execute it in a tournament game recently. All the way to checkmate, which was pretty cool. But yes, of course that's included in there. Right. I said we were going to do another slow chess game, and I wasn't lying. 15 minutes, 10-second increment. Let me know what openings you'd like to see. Hope everyone got their drink refills in. Hopefully we get an instructive one here. And I think we'll get the white pieces this time. It would just be unfair at this point if I didn't. Pokemon chess. I'll play d4. The unusual d4. Unusual because everyone plays e4 at this elo, I think. d4, d5. Okay, what do we like here? Lots of options. Queen's Gambit, of course. All right, let's play c4. Ah. Well, as much as I would love to play a specific line here, knight f6 is I'll go ahead and call it a mistake. Knight f6 is a mistake. So we need to punish this move. We need to punish it. Black in this opening needs to play e6 or c6 to take back on d5 with a pawn. Because he didn't, knight takes back. And we're just going to play e4, and we just have the whole center here. I'm laughing all the way to the bank. Now, if the pawn was here and the knight was here, you could maybe make a case for this being similar to a Grunfeld. But we've gotten there through a much different path, and knight b6 is absolutely not the move. Imagine that we had a knight on c3, black took here and did not take the knight and instead just went back. That's essentially what's happened here. So, very happy with the developments at the moment. Knight f3, knight c3, and I think we're just enjoying our position. Right? Simple knight moves, simple bishop moves, maybe bishop f4, and I like the position. I own the whole center. Okay, e5. I think I'm gonna call it out. I'm just gonna take it. I'm feeling like I don't believe it. There are other moves. Could go here, but why would I allow my opponent maybe to have this nice diagonal? Knight f3, great move as well, but I'm just gonna call it out. I'm gonna take it, and let's see if I really lose my pawn back. Let's see. Because that's a center pawn as well. If I play like f4, just hold on to that thing. Could be quite good. Knight c6. Huh? There's no way knight c6 is a move here. Right? Because if I take the queen and the knight takes back, why the hell would you want that instead of making me do that? And if the king takes, well, you're just not castling. So we'll take. Definitely. King takes. We see what he wants to do, right? He wants to take this. Alright. If we go f4, then let's just say the move knight b4 might annoy me just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because that's a threat. And I don't have bishop d3 to stop it. Okay, I can move one of these pieces, but obviously that's a small concession. So what I'd like to do to answer that move is I'd like to be able to castle. It stops this and it checks the king or brings the rook to the d file. So when I'm looking at this position, yes, I see my pawn hanging, but I want to get my bishop out. Bishop f4, pretty good move, I'm not going to lie. That's a good move. But even better looks like bishop g5 check. Because if you go here, I'm hitting you with another check next turn. Once my bishop is out, then I can play f4. And if you try to hit me with the same knight b4, then I can castle. So I'm thinking bishop g5 check is just a good way to get developed, allow me to castle. And f6 is non-existent. So I'm going to start with this. Instead of defending that and maybe dealing with another problem later, there goes the bishop. Here comes castling with check. Very important, otherwise that would be embarrassing. The king moves. Of course, we've got this bishop here. Let's go ahead and take. And my opponent's going to have to answer the tough question, which is, after e5, pawn takes. And now I play f4. Are you ever getting your pawn back? I think the answer is no. I don't think you're ever recovering that pawn. Knight d5 check will also maybe undouble my pawns. So that's a pretty good looking move I might look forward to. Knight f3, bishop b5. If bishop g4, I can also just play bishop e2. Piece trades would be fantastic. g5 looks like a bad move, but I'm going to tell you something. g5 is a much stronger move than you think. At least the move g5 comes from a good place, in my opinion. It comes from a very good place. So I like the move by black. I think it's a good try. If we take, then the knight takes on e5, and there's a bit of a blockade there. g3 is like a simple answer, because if you take me, I take back. We're in the same position again. The only move I would do outside of g3 is knight d5. As I just mentioned, I don't think this king has the luxury to move away, because c7 is hanging. So, knight takes, pawn takes. Where does this knight go? Knight b4. We just play a3. Knight has to go back here. Knight d8. Knight here. Right? After my pawn gets here and the knight moves, there's no threat to my e-pawn, and then I can just take this free pawn. So, to me, knight d5 is an exceptionally strong move here. But g3 would be a good automatic reaction if there wasn't anything better. G3 is a good move. But I see knight d5 and, you know, getting the twinkle in the eyes. Ready to take back. Okay. Knight's attacked. Knight here. Intending knight a2. Check. But a3 hits the knight, and the knight doesn't have anywhere better to go than a6. So a3 forces knight a6. If knight a2, king b1, the knight's trapped. No knight takes d5. No other moves. Only one move available here. Only one other move that black could possibly be thinking of, which is bishop g4. But look at that. White's just going to resign. I mean, the knight's going to move here. I'm probably going to take it. I don't have to, but I could take it. Take here. Knight f3, rook e1. How many pawns am I ahead? This is a good looking position and some really weak pawns for my opponent. Tough position. But it goes back to the opening. This e5 move, which is not so insane. It's really not. This move there is a lot of logic behind it. I decided to take it. Just, it's not the best move. It's the move that asks the most difficult question. which is, what are you doing about this move? Like, I'm just going to take your pawn. You want to sack a pawn? Okay, I'll take it. Show me. Show me, buddy. And he came up with that, which is a huge miss. I don't know how he doesn't play this. That should be the whole purpose of e5. But this opening is already spectacular for white. Like, a really, really big advantage. As black, you cannot face the queen's gambit and not play one of these moves. Of course, you can take if you want, but when you're starting out, man, this is a 1300. You must play one of these moves. You need a pawn in the center. Low-rated players do not do well when they go like this and their opponent controls the center. I would say counter-attacking the center. Openings like give up the entire center. Grunfeld, King's Indian. Low-rated players are not good at those openings, just naturally. It takes a lot of skill and experience playing chess to be able to counterattack your opponent's center. It's much easier to just have the two pawns in the center, have the space, have the easy developing moves to play. Like, this is so simple. So 1300s are going to have much more success playing white's position than playing black's position here. Doesn't matter how skilled you are. White's position is just easier to play. There's no sense in allowing that as black by playing knight f6. e6 makes the world of difference. Now you take back, you lay some claim to the center. Much different story. So I think it was pretty much because of the opening, he was on the back foot already. GG Pokemon Chess. He threw in the towel. He didn't want to play that game out. Tapir Knight, thanks for the 8 months with Prime. And the Chess Kid. 95 months. Yes, you heard that correctly. 95 months. That tells you how long we've been streaming. 95 months from the Chess Kid. Getting close to 100, my friend. Getting close to 100. Just the 90s Airbus driver. I don't think we have any hundos. There should be some people damn close, though. I don't think I've seen the hundos. But, like, so close. I saw BJH lurking a little bit earlier. He's someone who's got to be close to the hundo mark. All right, guys. That was a short one. Let's go for another. Hello to Anthony. US Dave, 14 months with Prime. Thank you to Dave. Will we get the white pieces again? Let me know what opening you'd like to see. Going for another rapid game here. Okay, black pieces. Black pieces. Let's see here. World is my oyster. All right, we're going to play C6. Caro Khan. Let's see how he wants to play against it. D4 is the most anticipated and natural second move. Sometimes people are playing the 2 knights Caro-Kann, but d4 is pretty good for now. So play d5. The nice thing about the Caro-Kann is, well, if you mess up on the first 2 moves of the Caro-Kann, guess what? You need a new opening. If you can't get the first 2 moves of the Caro-Kann correct, I'm telling you, you're playing the wrong opening. Bishop to f5. Some people like the line c5. I don't. I do not think that the move c5 is a good move. That might be a controversial take, but move c5, you might think it works well because it's almost like a French, but if white knows what they're doing, the move c5 is, I would say, on the riskier side for sure. Most players are happy to play against the move c5. Just a pleasant thing for them to see. Bishop d3, though, I mean, what are we talking about with bishop d3? I put my bishop here to get it outside the pawn chain to play e6. So, of course, if you're going to offer me a bishop trade, I'm in there. Take it. And the most important move in the Caro-Kann, if you let your opponent play e6 in the Caro-Kann against you as white, I know it sounds crazy, but as white, if they play e6, you are often in a really, really bad position. So e6 by black is so key. So key. Need to play it. Okay, let's discuss how we're actually going to develop our pieces here. Anyone have any ideas? Let's say I've got these 3 pieces. How are they all going to reach a development square? How are we going to get them out? Because they all need a square, and a few of them bump into each other. We want to make sure there's enough room for all of them. I see a lot of knight e7, knight f5. A lot of knight e7, knight f5. I see a ton of knight e7. I see a little bit of knight h6, but, you know, for the most part, that's to be avoided. Okay. Let me ask you guys, because most people haven't really mentioned it. Where's this knight going? Just because maybe you all knew where it was going, you just didn't write it. But where's it going? It's going to d7. Okay. So it's going to d7. And then sometimes I see knight e7, I saw bishop e7, I saw knight e7, knight f5. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you know where something's going, put it there. This knight's going to go to d7 in every single variation. So just put it there. You start with knight e7, you might just confuse yourself a little bit. Knight d7. We know for a fact that the knight is going to d7. So start with that. That just makes your life a lot easier. Okay, knight d7. Now we can think about the next idea. Knight e7, knight f5. An insanely popular suggestion. Very popular. Okay. Now, problem I have with knight f5, and it might not be a permanent thing, but knight f5 is not a fully permanent square. Just because there's a g4 idea. Now, it's not bad, but it's not permanent. Bishop e7 is definitely bad, because that takes the square from your knight. That's no good. So we can definitely agree that our knight needs to go to e7, because we're not playing this and we're not playing that. So of course you're correct that the knight wants to go to e7. But it doesn't really make a ton of sense for us to commit, let's say, knight e7, knight f5, when there's a potentially better square available, maybe on c6, something like c5, knight e7, knight c6. I could see something like that working. Because the knight on c6 hits a lot of the central squares. Not bad at all. The move c5 is now supported by our knight, now that we've put the knight there. I wouldn't be against maybe a move c5. And it's nice that we prepared it with the knight a little bit. I do think that c5 on the previous turn would have been just ever so slightly hasty on the previous move. Takes, bishop takes, queen b5 check, hits the pawn, check, hits the bishop. Just a little bit odd. So the knight kind of needs to be here first. And if we had played c5 and maybe tried to put the knight on c6, well then our other knight has its square taken away from it. So this, I think, makes a little bit more sense in that regard. Now we have the check blocked, and our knight is going to enjoy a potentially short journey to the c6 square. Knight e7, takes, knight takes, queen b5 check, hits our king, hits the pawn, hits the knight. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with that? If we play queen d7, we're going to lose our knight on c5. If we play knight d7, we're going to lose our pawn on b7. Well, now I've helped you too much because the answer is the only legal move. Knight c6, and the knight is defended by the bishop. The knight defends the pawn. There you go. Now we're ready for this. And let's say bishop e3, maybe to put more pressure here. When we bring our knight there, then the pawn will also be defended twice. So we're not scared of that anymore. Thank you to Midnight and Dr. Lord Mayonnaise. $10 donation, but it doesn't support us. So make sure to keep sending in $10. I promise it does not support us. Don't support these guys. It's giving, but I'm not a rapper kind of energy. Thank you for the 10. Oh, is that 10 pounds from ABD? Wow. Wow. Now I know what they mean when they say the camera adds 10 pounds. They were talking about my wallet. Oh. Airbus driver, you little devil, you. Bishop to g5. An annoying move, right? Pinning my knight. Preventing my knight from going to this beautiful square. Well, guess what? We're going to start with one of the greatest moves known to mankind. Not queen b6, you absolute imbeciles. h6. h6. What are we playing queen b6 for? Calm down. Relax. If he wants to take my knight, why would I not be okay with that? I'm going to take back with my bishop. I'm going to get a free h6 move. And once again, this bishop is living a sperm cell life. Bishop g5 takes e7. That's the lifespan of that bishop. That's sperm life right there. That's the one that didn't make it. It's not that impressive. You can't be afraid of moves like this. And look, if the guy's going to play bishop h4, aren't we happier having h6 and bishop h4? Wouldn't you say that this is a small achievement? I like it a lot better. Bishop no longer is on this diagonal. This is a very useful move for me, stopping the pieces from going there. And now, our move queen b6 comes with actual intent. Now I can unpin myself. And if he wants to take me now, go ahead. I got h6 in. So you must start with h6. They put the bishop on g5. It's like, Okay, let me ask you a question first. What are you doing? H6. Ask him what he's up to and then continue. Want to take? Go ahead. If not, knight to c6 or knight to f5 with the quickness. Why is knight f5 a much stronger move than it was before? Does anyone know? Oh, that's right. It's because of our fantastic h6 move. It forced the bishop here, so now knight f5, the bishop's only got one square. Genius. Queen c2 played. We like to see moves like this. He's defending, and he hasn't really made any mistakes yet, so credit to him. But Queen c2 we like to see because it's just backwards, and it's moving a piece that's already developed, right? He's already moved his queen. So for him to move it again, good for us. All right. After we see Queen c2, I mean, hey, a lot of great looking moves here. A lot of great looking moves. I would add Rook c8 to our list of candidate moves. I think that's an important one. Right? So now we're starting to look at the queen. Asking the queen a few questions here. He probably has to move the queen again, I'm not going to lie. After Rook c8, I think Queen b3 is probably necessary. Let's switch that. So, Rook c8, love. Knight f5, making a threat on this pawn. Also, very, very tempting. Right? Knight f5 with an immediate threat. That would probably make him take. Now, him taking is actually not a bad move. It really isn't. Like, it's quite reasonable. So I want to start with that. Taking is not the worst thing. You might think it's a bad move, and most of the time it is, because you're ruining this pawn structure. But taking for him is almost going to be a necessity in the near future. It really is. Okay. Knight f5 or Rook c8. I'm just going to say at this point, I'm feeling that there's a lot of pressure on d4. And I actually think that this bishop is not a good piece. And because I don't think it's a good piece, I think bishop takes e7 is actually an achievement by white. I think at this point, the bishop is now not good. So bishop takes e7 would actually be desirable for my opponent. So that's why in this position, I'm a little bit more interested in knight f5 because it doesn't even let him capture the knight on e7 anymore. So I like that. So I'm going to go with knight f5 because of that reason mainly. I like Rook c8. Believe me, it has a nice little cheapo trick here. Takes, queen takes d4. Ha ha ha. Can't take me. And hey, it might work. But really, if I'm being honest, I do think that bishop takes e7 there in that position is an achievement for white. So I don't want to allow that. That's why I'm playing knight f5. After knight d2, I can win some material. I can. The question is, do we cash it in right now? Takes, I can take here. I can also take here. Right? I got stuff to take everywhere. Instead of all that, I could play Rook c8. There's stuff like g5, g4, but that's a little convoluted, I think. Way too crazy. Way too fancy. If we play Rook c8, once again, my opponent is able to do something which is kind of bothersome. He can take here. I know that you think that's a good thing, but after he takes, notice how I'm no longer threatening to win anything. true. I'm not. It looks like fantastic for me, but all of a sudden I'm no longer actually making any threats, which is a little bit sad. Here pawn takes, and it's like, oh well, actually that's kind of the end of your threats. So because of that, I'm a lot more interested in taking right away. Taking here and taking here. So I think that's what I'm going to go for. Taking this bishop also allows me to develop with tempo, which is fantastic. If I take here and the pawn takes here, tagging my queen, I've got a check. Take here first, take here first. Allows for more impossible mistakes from my opponent. Always let them blunder. Please, blunder. But I'm probably going to take this bishop. Allows me to develop with tempo in some lines. Queen takes d4 is happening. So the most likely variation is takes. And the reason I don't want to take here is because the knight goes to f3, guards the bishop, and this bishop actually is kind of annoying. I want to put my bishop on e7 and castle. But I will say that bishop's a little bit frustrating to me. So I'm going to take this. I'd rather leave him with two knights than that pesky bishop. And if I don't take now and I go here, the knight's going to come back and guard it. So what the heck did I do all that for? I must take here. Otherwise, there was just no point. Okay, the knight comes back. Also guards this pawn, by the way. Now my queen needs to move. Queen c5 is tempting because, hey, a trade of queens would be absolutely phenomenal. But if he avoids the queen trade, then there's going to be a rook showing up on the c file and attacking my queen. So not exactly sure that that's in my favor. Queen b6 looks like the safest possible square. Let's say rook c1, bishop e7. In the event that we see queen a4, which is probably the last annoying move to attack my knight and stop me from castling, I think there we can play rook d8 to defend. And after we defend the knight, I've been thinking, and I don't see how my castling can be prevented. So I think I'm in a good spot after that. That's basically what I'm thinking. The only other thing to calculate would be something like this. Queen c5. Where can this queen go? If queen here, maybe queen b6 or queen b4. So that looks okay. Queen d3. Okay. I could go rook c8 maybe and prevent that. But more importantly, if I play bishop e7, rook there, queen back, there's not even this move, queen a4. So I kind of like how this one stops queen a4. That feels pretty good to me. I'm going to go for queen c5. Only because I've looked at the squares this queen can go, and I think I have an answer to all of them. Queen here, queen b4, or queen b6. Same thing with that one. I would go to b6 and rook d8. That looks very good, but I think offering a queen trade is pretty nice here. So queen c5. Please trade with me. I'm asking nicely. should keep the queens on the board when you think about, you know, just the overall principle of down material, right? If you're down material, you want material on the board, like a queen, to give yourself some chances. Because if everything trades down, it does eventually become kind of easy for the side with the extra material just to win the endgame. So rook c1. Now rook c8 would lose on the spot, I think, to queen d1. So we don't want to try to be a hero here with this move. Almost 100% we're going to be taking this queen. Yeah, not really going to calculate much further, but takes. There's a rook coming into c7 that we need to deal with. So that will be our next mission. Okay. Rook c7. Gotta deal with it. In order to cover this square properly, I think we need to use our bishop. Bishop here, rook c7 hits the pawn. Let's say rook b8, rook c1, bishop d8, rook c8, and we're probably doing enough there after king e7. But it's like a little funky. Bishop c5, knight b3, bishop b6, or rook c1, bishop b6. And if we get checked on c8, then we go up to e7. And truly in that position, we have actually done enough. So bishop c5 to b6 does look to me like it covers everything. Just in time. Just in time. And this pawn, so key here. Covering the squares the knight can go to. Same with this pawn. Now, we don't want to allow two pieces for the rook here, so we're absolutely dropping back to b6, covering this square. And oh, man, rook c8's a tempting move. But don't overreact and take it. Just step up with the king, and then all of a sudden it's the white rook that's being ganged up on. And here, even if it was my turn in this position, I would not be castling. I would probably be playing king e7. We're in an endgame. Pieces are looking to be traded. There's no problem with my king here. I want to be in the middle, close to the action. He'll try to flag me now, as he should. You know, that's his win condition at the moment. He's down a pawn. Gotta rely on that. I would do the same thing if I was in his shoes. Knight b3. Actually, he can't use those squares, so the only move he could be intending is knight there. This is an interesting example where I'm actually considering castling. King e7 is above and beyond the best move, but I'm considering castling, and I'm thinking it's because maybe he wants to play a4. So I am actually considering that, but cooler heads are going to prevail. I'm going to put my king on e7. I think castling is interesting. If he had brought the knight here, there might be like a knight takes e5 type of move, and that move works a lot better when my king is castle. But nevertheless, I think king here is the right. It's the right move. So hopefully he sees how important my bishop on b6 is. Because the bishop on b6 is the one covering this square. And it's not like the game's over or something if it moves from that square, but Alright, this looks like a pawn. I'm gonna go ahead and take it. He chose to use this knight when he could have used the other one. I was kind of expecting him to do that. The move I was really expecting was a4, a5, because that at least tries to do something to this bishop. f4, I have to say, looks tempting for my opponent here, but I'm really not sure. Knight d3 exists. Knight c6 also just trades a bunch of pieces. So I feel like there's a lot of good moves available after f4 for me. It opens up this diagonal for I don't know what reason. If he played a4, by the way, a6 was possible, but I may have just played a5 to be truly safe there, so that my knight would land. Sorry, so that my bishop would stay nicely on b6. But the other kind of interesting move after a4 was maybe rook to b8. So after this, I could bring the bishop back, and there is no more infiltration on either of those squares because my rooks are tucked away here. Kind of a funny looking move, but I think it was getting the job done. Okay, rook c3. Not sure that it makes a particular threat. Let's bring the rook over. It does cover knight d3, so that's one thing. But now I'm kind of getting ready to play rook d7, so like even if my bishop needed to leave this square, at this point now I'm even ready for rook c7. So two extra pawns in the center. The position is reminiscent of a French, and it was pretty much as soon as we played c5 in the opening. It was like a French, but I had already traded the light square bishop off for his. You're telling me I get to play a French where I've already solved the problem of my worst piece in that opening, the light squared bishop? Thank you very much. I'll take that every time. Wonder what he's going to do. Knight c5, takes, knight d3, rook c7, rook d7. Could try to do something like that. Knight c5 may also run into other things though, like maybe knight c4. Pieces start to hang. So only blundering pawns here. Really, really not a bad showing at all from my opponent. But those pawns, admittedly, have been kind of valuable. They've both been center pawns. I like this move. I think it's a good move. It's a good attempt. Let's say a6, just to cover this. a5. You've got the right idea. So we can take this, but bishop a7, rook here, rook here. This is kind of what I meant. I feel like I have this idea covered now. So I'm not as scared of giving up that square because I'm just going to play rook d7. A bishop takes knight would have also been a nice move as well, right? Tough to say in this position about Luft. I would say bringing the king to the center is the best way to not get back rank mated or make Luft. But in general, h3 with a dark square bishop always makes a bit less sense. So I would lean towards g3. King f1 looks like a pretty reasonable move here, though. Would a GM resign here if he was black? Not sure. You'd have to ask one. But I am a GM. Yep, that's correct. Like this move from the opponent. I'm going to go for this one, which is a little bit on the fancy side. But he kind of like, I guess, he can't really move this knight without hanging that knight. So the knights get a little bit jumbled up here. This pawn is hit. This pawn is hit. Maybe knight here, or obviously the knight could return, but that's a little uninspiring. So I would say perhaps that knight, that square makes a lot of sense. So I'm blocking the rook's communication with that knight. Meanwhile, any knight move loses that knight unless you go for that. So that move makes a ton of sense. Now, if I go rook here, knight takes. I think the knight's actually getting trapped in there. So if I go rook here, I'm kind of wondering where you're going. Knight takes pawn, rook c7. It's not clear to me that you're actually getting out. Takes, there's no coming back this way. Rook c7, and there's actually no escape. So the only thing I can see that's maybe worth playing is knight c5, takes, e3, rook c8, takes. But then I can play rook takes, and at that point, I have my 2 extra pawns. We've now traded almost every piece on the board, right? Seems to me like that's exactly what I want, right? That's in my favor. Because I don't need to win a piece here. I'm up 2 pawns. This is more than enough. Takes. Still got these 2 extra pawns. Haven't forgot about them. Another good move from the opponent. We're going to continue with this plan. Rook c8, and it's like, yeah, you can take the knight. But what was the result of all that little exchange? We traded a pawn each, a bishop for a knight for a knight. Now we're going to trade a pair of rooks as well. This seems to only get closer and closer to my goal. Now, do you remember that other game we played where I said, hey, if you have a rook behind a pass pawn and you still have, apart from that, an advantage on one side of the board, like I have a 4-on-3 here, I said the easiest way to win is to take with the pawn, push the pawn as far as you can, and it's like you sit there and you wait for them to maybe take you, because anytime you trade the rooks, the game ends. It's over. King and pawn endgame is completely winning. So I'm going to take with the pawn, and truthfully, I'm going to motor that pawn up the board as far as he will let me. Rook takes c4 is a fantastic move. It really is. But this plan of taking and just shoving the pawn as far up the board as it'll go, you look like you are a dumbass here. Because the guy's like, what's this idiot doing? He's just allowing me to take the pawn. But that's what you want. That's part of your plan. Please take me. Do you know how much easier my life is when we're just playing a king and pawn endgame, which I know I'm going to win? This is way easier than having to play a whole rook endgame. My life just got simplified 10x by doing this. And I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to wait for you to take me. Thank you very much. Now, in this case, I could just go and take this pawn. But even if these pawns were not here, even if they were not on the board, this would be winning just because I can make a pass pawn here. So I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to say, take my pawn. You know, I'll wait. I'll wait. He doesn't want to take, but guess what? He's going to have to. We're going to go and make a pass pawn here. This is the same way that I would play to win if he did take my pawn. So I'm not changing my plan at all. G4, pretty much ignoring anything that's going on there. Just making a pass pawn, nothing to see here. But notice how much easier this endgame is. His rook is stuck, he literally cannot move his rook. It's so much easier to play this position. Right? If he ever moves the rook, I'm promoting. And even if the king is here, if he moves the rook, I'm promoting. Even though I lose the pawn, it forces an exchange of the rooks. It's just so much easier to win the position. All right, let's play g5 just to make him run out of pawn moves over there. This move isn't really relevant, but okay, there we go. He can't move. He can't move. And please take my pawn. I hope you can appreciate how much easier your life is when your opponent can't move an entire piece. Their only piece. The only move they can do with the rook is your dream position as well. Sure, it would be winning to play a rook endgame, but it takes a while, and okay, if your opponent has a rook on the board moving around, you can blunder pawns, you can make mistakes. Here, you really can't make a mistake. You just sit there and wait for him to take you. If he doesn't take, just pretend that these 3 things are not on the board. Pretend they're not there. I would just move this pawn up the board, right? Okay, we're just going to pretend these pieces don't exist. I'm just going to go up the board. Again, pretend these don't exist. Oh, he finally took. Well, there we go. And it's so much easier to win this position when it's just a king and pawn game. I got that one extra pawn in. That endgame was not even a struggle because we used this technique. And the king escorts the pawn up the board. As usual, guys, this is the point where my opponent is going to spend a long time thinking. This time I'm only joking, because I think he managed his time pretty well that game. And last couple games, although we've gotten the wins, and I think they've been some good games to learn things from, think about the amount of mistakes that my opponents have made. It's really just been blundering pawns. Of course, there's some strategic understanding differences, but I'd hope there is. The guy's playing a GM after all. But in terms of mistakes, blunders, it's like, really, people have just been blundering pawns and just slowly getting outplayed. It makes the game more instructive, but you also have to tip your hat to these 1300s who are definitely holding their own. That's not going to stop me from KOing him, though. Course not. Course not. GG. Time to hype my course. Well, Lolly, what I will say about my course, the checkmate course, it's called a checkmate course, but a lot of them just, if I had, a couple seconds on the clock here, maybe 5 seconds, I would still expect to give myself a really good chance to win this position, because putting the pawn up here is the only way to give yourself a chance to win. If you have a couple seconds and you're taking with the rook here, your opponent's going to keep their rook, you're going to get checked, it's going to be annoying. But this is the type of stuff that's in the course where it's like, it's more of a technique-based thing. It's like, what are the most practical ways that are the easiest to pre-move and leave your opponents with the, basically no counterplay every time. So it's like practical examples, how to execute things really easily without allowing counterplay right at the end of the game when you're about to win. So this is very much in the family of things that's included in the course. So it's stuff like this. There are many ways to win, but I do think that this is such an effective way. The course is available in our Chessable store. There's a direct link to it, I think, !course, but you can also find it just in the Chessable store. So where we sell all of our merch, this course will also be there. You'll see it. GM Aman Hambleton's Checkmate Fundamentals. Should you get the monthly group lessons? Well, I think it's definitely worth it. We might have a few gym members here. The Chessable Gym. It's been a good program. Basically, you get lessons with myself, Eric, other guest lecturers like sometimes Yasser or Ariantari. And it's about 4 lessons per month for $100. It's they're group lessons, but it's also a close, it's a close community, tight-knit group of people all with the same goal to improve. So you also end up, usually becoming good buddies with the people in the class and playing training games together. It's helpful if you're trying to improve. But I would say it's more for the atmosphere of, just that learning environment where everyone's trying to do the same thing. And you get lessons with GMs for basically 25 bucks per lesson. I mean, it's just not going to be more affordable than that to spend an hour, hour and a half with a grandmaster. Is my course a Chessable course? No, it's. I recorded all the content. I made all the PGNs. I annotated them. Did it all myself, and we packaged it together, and it's available, and it'll get delivered to you immediately after you purchase it. So, no, it's not connected to Chessable. You have a question? Real CJSR? I believe you just asked it. That'll be your question quota for the day. Thank you very much. GG. It was a nice game by my opponent here. One more game. I may definitely continue with the slow chess. That's indeed the plan. But I am going to switch over to our Kick channel, I believe, guys. I think that's where I'm going to continue the show for now. We started streaming on Kick as well. So I think I will continue. I don't think you'll stop me there. We're having some good games. We're on a good swing right now. These have been pretty instructive, I think, as well. But 50 more games. Hey, 50. I didn't sign up for that. Hey, Benny. I think I saw Phil here earlier. We got the staff in here. Benny and Phil. Go boys. Benny, I won't tell anyone. Shh. Come on over. I'm going to head over to our Kick channel right now. It's really easy to find. !Kick. It's kick.com/chessbrock. Go figure. Not trying to hide from you guys. So I'm basically going to end the stream and start it up on Kick right away. So you'll hardly even notice the stream went off. But I'll say thanks to the people watching. Hope you guys had a good time. I think we had some pretty instructive games today, and that's not always the case. Sometimes people just blunder, but people played well today, so I thought they were really instructive. I'll see you guys over there. If you want to come over with us, if you have an account, I look forward to seeing you. And if you make an account for the first time, say hi. Tell me your name from here, and I'll remember you. I got a good memory. I'll see you guys on our Kick channel. Thank you, Matthew. Making sure people know where to find us. Bye for now, guys. Lots and lots of streams coming your way, so don't worry. We'll be live on Twitch as much as we can. I'll see you guys over on Kick. Thanks for watching the Twitch segment for today. Bye, guys. Appreciate you. Shout out to Chess TV. God bless them. See you guys on Kick.